see the evidence around me. We are the power of love, and my eyes are open to the truth I now embrace, and my heart is opened by spirit and by grace. I can feel the power of love inside me. Feel the power of love. I can see the evidence around me. We are the power of love. We are the power of love.
Good morning. Glad to have you join us this morning. It's been a little frantic here this morning. I don't know how it is at your house. Several just little things. I want to start this morning first by honoring that here we are again in this sacred space. It is a unique and different kind of space, and our work right now is to deepen our connections here. We still have a little bit of time together in this space. We're not quite sure how long that time will be. So we want to intentionally and with effort and with determination find ways to connect deeply to one another in this sacred way. We know that's possible. We just haven't had to do it in the past. So I want to invite you to take your cursor up to the top right-hand side of your screen, and you'll see something that either says gallery view or speaker view. I'm going to invite you to put yourself in gallery view for a few moments because I want you to see each other. To begin this day with a wave, to look across. If you go to the right-hand side, you'll see we're several pages deep depending upon how many people you can see. So you can scroll across and see other faces. And let's just take a moment to say good morning. Good morning. So nice to see you all. To notice that we are here and we are together, sharing this sacred space and this time. What a gift it is that we can be together. This is live and real from Ahriana's dining room. And we are live and real coming from your homes. And I want you to think about for just a moment how intimate that is, that we are all connecting to one another from each other's homes, places that we don't generally get to bring the whole community, maybe a couple people. But this morning, we are all in each other's living rooms, on each other's porches, visiting with each other from wherever we are. And that's a sweet and wonderful thing. And you can look at this view for as long as you want. I'm going to go back to speaker view because it's a little easier for me to keep from having my eyes be at the bottom of the screen. It helps me, all of your faces show up at the top of the screen, which means then I'm looking at you instead of down at the bottom of the screen. So I'm gonna put you back up there and just tell you how glad I am that you're with us, that we are together and that we can do this. And what an honor and a privilege it is to be so deeply reminded that the church is not a building. So I want to invite you to take a deep breath in. And when you release, to just let go of any stress around that. There's been a lot of conversation around that this week. where we have to be and what we have to do and when we have to do it. So we have already made a choice as a community that we are going to continue just as we are right here online until August. And our board will revisit this then. But we are going to go slow and careful and safely into this future. And we know that the time will come that we're gathering all together in the same room. And this morning, we're gathering all together from our many rooms in one sacred place, still as provided by the divine as any other place. Because truly our gathering place happens here in our hearts around connection, doesn't it? So I'm so glad that you're joining us. I want to honor this morning all of those who served in the military. I want to invite all of us to take one moment and to recognize that this is a day for honoring those who have lost their lives, given their lives in service to this country. Many of you have heard me say this before, and I will say it again. I think the greatest gift that is given, the greatest requirement for any person who is in the military is the requirement to keep the promise you make when you sign up. And I come from a military family, so I have seen my brothers, my father, my mom and dad met in the military, all in the Air Force. My grandparents, lots of people in my family have been military people. And we've been very lucky that everyone who has ever gone to war has come home safely. But that is not always the case. So let us just take a moment to honor, reflect, and remember. Thank you. As we begin this morning, it's interesting that on this Memorial Day, our topic of discussion is power. Because so often what takes us to war is an issue of power, isn't it? But that's really not the power I want to talk about this morning. I want to talk with you about your own power, about the power of sovereignty, about the power of your own heart. So this month we are connecting through spirit, and we are looking at the pillars of connection, those tools that we can use and practice to connect more deeply in any forum, whether it's a forum like this or it's across the room with a sweetheart or anywhere we are. How is it that we build deep and true connection? And isn't that what we're hungry for right now? Is deep, meaningful connection. Connection that doesn't just rely on the physicality, but connection that has to do with who we are and how we choose to live. So there are several pillars that we're talking about. Last week we talked about a pillar called truth, about capital T truth and small t truth, and what truth really is, and where we find truth. Because truth and fact are not the same thing. Fact is something science can give us, and fact is changeable over time. What is a fact at one point in time, based on all the information we have, may not be a fact farther down the line when new information is brought into the picture. So we talked about truth being something that lives inside of us, and we talked about the fact that that truth is not the same for all of us. Even when it comes to our ideas of universal truths, those things that we believe we can count on, they are based in our experience and what we have come to know for ourselves. So truth is a pillar we can use as long as we recognize that our truth and someone else's truth can be different. And that doesn't negate either side. That it is entirely possible in our world for us to have a truth and someone else to have a truth that isn't the same truth. Today we're going to talk about power. And power is similar to that. Power is an interesting thing. Power is, if we were to define power or to attempt to define power, because it's all about putting words to something, isn't it? And the way words lack to really define what it is we're trying to define. But if we could define power, we might define it in one of three ways. We might talk about power as our ability to influence something, our ability to make something change. We might talk about power as our ability to actually do something. So I have the power to cook breakfast this morning if I want to. I have the power to drive across town. I have the ability to do many things. I am powerful in that way. There are many, many things that can be done. We can also talk about power, and we often think about it this way, as control. If I have control of something, then I might feel like I am powerful in that area. It is under my control. What I want you to notice about all of those things is, in a lot of ways, those things require someone on the outside to say you have that. So, for example, if you want to have influence, if you want to think of yourself as an influential person, you might be voted in as the president, or you might have a familial heritage that confers upon you the right to be king or queen. Or you might be a professor and have a certain amount of power given to you according to what you've studied and the university's ability to give you power. You might even have, as I do, the power of being someone's mom, which most of the time comes because either they have agreed to adopt you as their mom or you have given birth. But that power comes from outside of you, doesn't it? What I want to talk to you about today is the power inside of you, the power that is inherently yours, the power that you were born with, your individual, unique, sacred soul. That you are the only person who has the power to be you. That's it. No one else on the planet has the power to be you, to express in the unique way you do, to bring your unique set of gifts into the world, to influence the world in the way that only you can. So why is power important to our study of connectedness? Well, it's incredibly important because in the place of connecting, power is one of the first obstacles that shows up for us. How we use our power, how we claim our power, how we empower or disempower each other. So when we think about disempowerment, let's go there for a minute. When we think about disempowerment, we can go back to those same three qualities that we talked about when it comes to what makes us feel empowered. We disempower people by denying their ability or by challenging them in an area that is not theirs to achieve. We disempower people when we try to influence their decision, try to affect or change who they are. And we disempower people when we take their power away, when we refuse to give them power over their own lives, by trying to direct or sometimes through our judgment, sometimes through our harsh judgment, we disempower people and take away their sense of control. So when we're looking at relationship with one another, even across this screen, when we look at each other's faces, I wonder, do we actually really look? Do we really look at each other and notice the sovereign hearts in each of these boxes? The sovereign hearts. So I invite you to take a minute and feel that word sovereign. Feel that word that really refers to your sense of power within. Feel the word sovereign and ask yourself, how sovereign do you feel? How sovereign do you think you are? How sovereign do you know yourself? Can you be in relationship without giving your power away? We give our power away a lot of different ways. We give our power away when we feel guilty because we didn't do what somebody else wants us to do. We give our power away when we allow circumstances and people to control our time. Time sovereignty is incredibly, incredibly important to a sense of self. We give our power away when we believe that what someone else has makes them more important than who we are in the world, based on our self-judgment. We can give our power to other people. And mostly, we give our power away when we decide that we are victims. One of the quickest ways to know that you've given your power away is to listen to what you're saying. If you find yourself saying, that person did this to me, there's just nothing I can do about it. Or I can't do that. That's not possible. Or nobody cares what I think. Nobody really cares. Those are victim statements that tell you you have given your power to someone else. So I want to invite you into an understanding that your not having power is an illusion. You have incredible power. You are powerful and were born a powerful expression of the divine. It's who you are. You are God expressing. And in your place as God expressing, you always have power. You have power to control your attitude, to control whether you will allow someone to influence you or not. You have power to learn how to do something you are not doing right now, or to find another way to accomplish what it is that you want to do. We've talked several times about the difference between saying I can't and how can I? How can I do this thing I want to do? The most important power you have is the power of the divine. To ask yourself, who am I? Where have I come from? What is my source? And what is my deep work to do? What am I here to do? What is the holy calling forward from me in this moment, right now? As you look at each other's faces, notice, just notice what the holy is calling forth in each person. It's different. It's different for each of us. So when we meet as sovereign beings, and we think of sovereigns as kings and queens, don't we? When we meet as sovereign beings, it's not necessary to show power. It's necessary to show interest. It's necessary to ask good questions. It's necessary to meet as equals in all of our relationships, because our equality is not defined by our familial heritage. It's not defined by the money in the bank. It's not defined by the certificates on the wall. Our power is defined by the God inside of us, the God of your knowing, however you relate to that. And when we see that in each other, and we see that perfect expression of the divine on each other's faces, then we can connect deeply, powerfully, in a permanent and meaningful way. So I invite you to close your eyes, to take a deep breath in, and to release. To put your hand on your heart. This is the place that we start, the place that we call home of our soul. It's not in our mind. Our mind is affected by it. It's here where love lives. Love is the true power. That love that is exponentially more than the love that we exercise on a day-to-day basis. That exponential love that calls forth life in all of its forms and faces. That exponential love that holds us in times of need, that strengthens us, that brings us forward in healing. From this place of love, I invite you to breathe in and to release anything that is in the way of your powerful, holy self. To breathe in again and release anything that blocks you from remembering who you truly are. To breathe in a third time and exhale any idea that you are anything less than completely empowered by the holy to be the perfect expression of the holy that you are. Just take a moment and feel your empowered heart. Allow this empowerment to straighten your spine a bit. Allow this empowerment to ground and center you. Allow yourself to feel a sense of sovereignty that makes it safe to connect with each sovereign heart joined about you. Gently open your eyes and remember who you really are.
Is this the end, or only the beginning? The second chance you never thought you'd get. The question is, will you do something with it, or spend your days lost in your regret? This is the story of your life. You decide how the rest is gonna read. This is your chance between the lines to redefine the kind of legacy you leave. This is the story of your life, and it's a story worth telling. Breathe in deep, feel your heart still beating. Let's go see the reason you're alive. Oh, you are here, and love is up to something. So take your fear and leave it all behind. This is the story of your life. You decide how the rest is gonna read. This is your chance between the lines to redefine what kind of legacy you leave. This is the joy, this is the pain, and all the pages in between. Your finest hour, your weakest moments. It's where you've been, it's where you are, it's where you're going. This is the story of your life. You decide how the rest is gonna read. This is the story of your life, and it's a story worth telling. Is this the end, or only the beginning?
Thank you, Connie. Beautiful. I was watching people, you have an amazing way of connecting all of us. So thank you for that gift. Yeah. So happy to have you all with us. I've been watching people come in, still coming in, and seeing your little boxes come up so I can see that you're chatting. I kind of keep that box closed because I want to read everything that's in there. So I have to do that after service. But I hope that you use that chat box to say hello to each other, to remember that you can send out a personal message as well as a message to everyone. So I hope you use that chat box to keep connected and touch base with one another each week. It's a gift that we can do this, and I am reminded how much of a gift it is when I watch the things happen in the world around us. This week has been a challenging week. We have had a pretty tragic loss in our community this week. I don't know how many of you are aware that Bob Landry is the drummer who has worked with Connie and been part of our community for a long time. He lost his young son in a tragic car accident this week. So my heart has been very deeply connected to him. I know, Connie, you have had loss this week. I know I saw in the chat box at the beginning of this conversation that Terrell Lundquist, who also has been a long-time attendee and has been fighting cancer for some time, passed away last night. And we've had Richard Anthony was in the hospital yesterday, went in for surgery, and actually the night before last. And thankfully, that's a good story. He is doing well and recovering. And so my heart has been very connected to this community this week, to all of the things that happen, all of the ways that life goes on and the occurrences of life go on. And loss is one of those occurrences, isn't it? So it's appropriate on this Memorial Day that we also recognize the fragility of life, recognize the importance of this time, the extraordinary importance of this time that we're sharing with one another, the extraordinary opportunity that we have to consider the value of the people in our lives above all other things, the value of our ability to be connected at the heart. Because at a time like this, the buildings are not what's important. The groceries are not what's important, although we have to maintain ourselves. The restaurants and the movie theaters and the everything else we can be thinking about. All of those things have no value, zero value, without the people involved. Without each other, they mean nothing. They're simply ways and places that we connect to one another. So if we are able to take this time, this very unusual and different time, this time that throws us out of our knowing and into uncertainty, if we are able to take this time and learn how to connect with each other's hearts, imagine what we can do when all the rest of that comes back. Imagine how the world will be different. Just imagine. This really is what matters. And just so you know, in case you hear it from anybody, this particular church does not have to reopen. We never closed. Our building closed. But this church, this community, we have never closed. We will not close. We have not closed in nearly 100 years. This church was founded in 1822. And we are coming up on 100 years of doing what we're doing right now. Caring about each other, loving each other, showing up for each other, finding a way to support each other no matter what is happening in the world around us. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you've joined us this morning. As usual, I want to thank you for all the good ways that you're giving. We have big work to do. We continue to do big work. I have spoken with Christy Milligan, who is the director of Westside Cares. They have a couple of really big needs, and they're easy to meet. We can meet them by going online and sending something to them. And Chris, if you'll look up their address, I think it's 2808 West Colorado, and the zip code will be 80904. But let's make sure that's the address, and let's put it in the chat box. They are in need of men's underwear, which you can order online and ship to them. They are in need of sunscreen. for people who are out under the sun all the time, and they are in need of water bottles and bottled water. Bottled water may be a little harder. If you want to deliver bottled water, you can do that on Mondays between 9 and 11 at the community center or at their office over on Colorado, which Chris is putting in the chat box. But bottled water bottles are needed by people who are without home right now, because water is a really important thing. So if you would like to continue to help Westside Cares, please do ship something to them, drop it off. If you're going to drop it off, make sure that you wear your mask, and you can put it right outside the door and someone will pick it up. You can also call them. I believe that there's someone in their office on Tuesdays, but you can call to be sure. We are still working on a connection for our folks in Uganda, for the school down there. They are wrapping up the rainy season. It has been a hard season for them. A lot of the people in the Gambellan refugee camp that we're protecting and being in service to have had leaks in their roofs and things like that. And this pandemic has also made it difficult for them to have enough food, because the food comes to them in unique ways. So we are looking for a contact. We have to find someone there. We used to work through an organization that had feet on the ground in Uganda, and the people who were there have since moved back to the United States. So we are searching out right now a person or people who can work with us to get things to the camp. And once we find that, and I think I'm close, once we find that, then we will be doing something to help them with some of the supplies that they're desperately in need of. So just keep that in mind and keep them in your prayers as we move forward, knowing that the prayers do matter, they do count, and the right person will show up for assisting us in our efforts to assist them. I want to thank you for joining us. I want to remind you, as always, that Chris will put the information in the chat box if you would like to make a contribution. We have been very blessed. Your contributions have been generous and flowing. Many things have changed for us. We no longer have our bingo game. That makes a little bit of a difference. We have some very important decisions to make, and we will be calling a town hall meeting here in the next couple of weeks. So please watch your email. We have a couple of very important decisions to make and some wonderful opportunities ahead of us as well. So we would like you to attend the town hall meeting, and we'll send out some notes about what we're thinking may be the right way to go forward in what may be a challenging economic time. So we'll let you know about that as it comes. Connie, I know that you had planned on offering a class, and you are going to be in California and need to go out there to take care of your aunt's estate. So Connie's class is going to be on hold for right now, and she will be probably the first couple of weeks of June stepping out to take care of some family matters, and when that happens, Paul Schweitzer will be stepping in for her. So we're excited to have Paul, and you know that our heart goes with you as you do this work. I know that Reverend Julie is wrapping up Adam Smashing Power of Mind. I think, Julie, you're on here somewhere. I can't see you on my screen, but I think you have one class left. Is that correct? Can't see you. She may not be able to open her mic, but I think there's one class left there. And then we will be offering some new summer programming. Also some new, there you are, Julie. We can't hear you, we can see you. Chris, can you unmic her? Or unmute her? You are unmuted. Well, I don't know what it is, Julie, we tried. This beautiful picture in front of you, this is Reverend Julie Armour, our Associate Minister, if you haven't met her. And we can't hear you, Julie, but whatever it is, we will, Julie and I are talking about summer programming, and we'll be making announcements about that. If you are here with children, Please watch for your email from the community about special programming coming up this summer for your kids. And I know that Eric Hahn, our youth director, has been reaching out and touching base with families. So we're just connecting all the ways that we can, just reaching out one at a time. Our prayer chaplains continue to make 2 calls to everyone in the membership list once a month. And we will have in June, if you are not a member now and you would like to be, we will be offering a membership class, a new member orientation coming up around the middle of June, so that you have an opportunity to learn more about that. So I'm grateful that you're here, grateful to have this time with you, grateful to see in the chat box who you're praying for and what special things you would like us to pray for. I will continue to add people to my Reiki book. If there's someone that you would like to have specific healing energy, take a moment and write their name in the chat box, and I will be sure and make sure that they are included. And I want to do a special shout out. I don't know if she's here this morning, but I want to do a special birthday shout out to Susan Kulish, who is 66. Susan, we love you. Connie, you want to sing?
Why not? Let's just ad lib here. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Susan. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. If you are not in it, let's go to gallery view. Up in the right-hand corner. This is our moment before we close to connect, to look once again at each other's faces, to really take time to see who's here with you, to know that all across our city, we are sitting in front of screens, loving each other, recognizing that this is live. This is not Memorex. This is live. This is really us together. So just notice. Be grateful. Some of us are reaching out from other states. Some of us are right here in the community. Wherever you are deeply, deeply loved. Let's pray our way out, shall we? In this holy moment, the threads between our hearts stretch wide and strong. This community connects itself heart by heart, person by person, mind to mind, divine soul to divine soul. We are the holy idea expressing. The idea that love is bigger than anything. That love is the most powerful and empowering force. And that we are born, more than even born, we are animated by divine love. In this way, we are powerful beyond measure. We are connected in ways we can't even yet imagine. And we are one. We're grateful for this time together, for the sacred ways in which we can reach out and reach in. We're grateful for every heart in this place, for all the hands that work together to make this time possible. And we close this time with these simple words. Amen. Amen. And so it is.
I invite you to sing our closing song with me. And remember last week when I invited you to connect with someone, to reach out if somebody popped into your head. Well, I did that Sunday, an hour after the service was over last week. My aunt popped into my mind as I was driving to Home Depot. So I connected, tried to, and called. And I found out about a half an hour later that was the moment she was passing. The phone was ringing, and it was me. So I tell you, it really works. You want to do that. Here we go. Let the light within you shine. We are all connected. Look into another's eyes. See your light reflected. We are one light, shining souls in harmony. We are one light, shining in unity. Have a blessed week, everyone.